Hello everyone, Julia Sheehan here, independent Stampin' Up demonstrator from Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. Today I'd just like to do this little card with you. It's something a little bit different, and the further you get away from it, actually the more impact it has. So it'd be very nice sitting up on a shelf or something like that. But anyway, we'll get started, and I'm using the 9 Live stamp set. I'll just get that out of the light if I can. And it's a lovely stamp set with all these cats and everything. I really love it. And so I'm using the sentiment from that. A friend like you comes around once in 9 lives. And that's all I'm using from there. I'm using the birds from High Tide. And I'll be using the punch for the cats. And that's about it. Okay. So what you need is your base cardstock, which I'm using Night of Navy for this one, which I've already folded and burnished, and that's 8 1/4 by 5 7/8 of an inch. And then I've got a piece of Whisper White, 5 6/8 of an inch by 4 inches, and I also have another piece of that, which I've obviously already done for the card, where I cut the circle for the moon out of it, and I'm using that as a template. And then I just cut up another piece to put on here so that I could do this hill here for the sky. And then I just reversed it, like took the piece off the other end, which goes there, and covered that up so I could do the bottom of the card. So I've already done that. So this also masks the moon as well. So all of that came out of those pieces and can be used over and over again because I've cut it out of cardstock. I didn't use sticky notes because I find that they catch up and quite often you get ink underneath them. So I decided to go with something a little bit more stable, and I will then put these inside the stamp set, and they'll be there for any time that I might want to use them. Okay, so we might as well get started on this now. You're going to need, the other two things you'll need obviously for the sentiment are a piece of Night of Navy, 1 5/8 of an inch by 1 3/8 of an inch, and a piece of Whisper White, 1 1/2 inches by 1 1/4 inches, and that's what we'll do the sentiment on. All right, now I'm going to use a piece of scrap paper so that I don't get ink everywhere. And I'm just going to put that on here. And the first thing I'm going to do is to put my template on. Now, if you've got really good tape that's not going to mark your card, you can always stick this down. Even some washi tape would probably work quite well as well. I might even put a little bit of washi tape on it. I'm sort of reticent at times to put anything much on the card because I have had it actually pull some of the paper off the card, and yeah, just worries me a little bit to do that. So, and I do try and de-tack it a bit, but it still sometimes just does stick. But I'll just press it lightly and hope for the best. Now, I am using Daffodil Delight for the moon, and just got my sponge here. I'm just going to dab it on, and I always just rub it off a little bit just in case there's any like thick bits that get on there. Not that it matters so much with the moon, because you'll probably notice from my other card that I do some darker spots on it, because clearly the moon has darker spots on it too. So you can see in this one there's different levels of colour going on through them. So I'll have a dark bit, and then I'll have a lighter bit. do it a bit dark there. Just sort of like you would if you looked up at the moon and you know there's craters and everything happening. So just a bit of variation. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, that's probably enough. So I'll just close up my Daffodil Delight. And then I'm going to grab, well, I'll take this off first. Just take that off there and off this end. Okay, we'll take our little template off. Now I'm going to put this one on to do the sky, and I want that about there. So I'll just take this off and try and reuse it. You can see that started to stick as well, so I just like to be very careful I don't press it down too hard. Now I am going to use what I cut out from the other one as just a cover for that moon whilst I do the sky. Now I'm using Night of Navy, and I'm also using Pacific Point. So I like to mix the two. And if you want to get a really good night sky as well, you can mix in things like Berry Burst or Rich Razzleberry and just get a little bit of that colour in there too. But for today I'm just going to do this one. Okay, so I'm going to start with Pacific Point and just make sure that's masked well, and then again just rubbing off to the side and then on here, and we'll just work that around. There we go. I've got a little carried away there, forgot to go off, so I'll have to make that a little bit darker. This will be a darker night sky than the other one. But as we always say, you can always try and fix things up as best you can when you do these things. If you think you've made a mistake, it's not necessarily a mistake, it's just it leads into a different way of doing something, or maybe using colour a little bit more intensely than what you're used to. And that's always a good thing, experimenting. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'll just make sure that mask is there. And I'm just holding that one. Then I'm going to bring in some Night of Navy just to add that darker colour into it. I like the mixes of the blues. I actually like the colour of this sky. I probably wouldn't necessarily have gone this dark, but I quite like that. So I might just leave it at that. There we are. It really makes the moon look bold, I think. So that's worked out quite well. Alright, we'll take that off and that off, and then the other one that I've cut I'm just going to put on there, and we'll do exactly the same thing, just hold it down a little bit, and we'll do our grassed area. Alright. Just wondering, oh no, that's alright. So I'll close up my blues. Sometimes I get carried away and I have all these big ink pads open, and I really shouldn't. Okay, I'm going to use Shaded Spruce for the grassed area. And again, I'll just hold that so I'll get this colour on here. Now again with the grassed area, because it's grass, it's not going to be one perfect green right across, so don't worry if you get some swirls or bits and pieces, because it just looks like blades of grass and things in there. And realistically at night you wouldn't normally see it. It'd be very dark. Just put a few dark colours in there. A bit of light and shade. There we go. And that's done. So you can see it doesn't take very long to do. And I'll just put that over there. And there. And there we are, it's done. Okay, so the next thing we need to do are our cats. And just using the punch, I'm just going to cut 2 cats out of here. I'm using the basic black for this. Just wondering if I can get 2 out of this side. We'll see. There's 1. Yes, we can. Just 2. So one we're going to turn over so it's facing, so they're facing each other. And then I'm using my Stampin' Chalk marker. Love this. And I'm going to do, oh, here's me talking about leaving inks open, and I've done it again. And got ink all over my thumb as usual. Alright, so my Stampin' Chalk marker, and I'm doing very basic marking on these cats because the idea is that their heads are twisted towards the moon. So they're looking backwards. And the reason I've done this is because when you say to people, oh, just draw the cat's faces on, and they could be looking out this way, people don't necessarily want to draw the faces because they don't think they look any good. But if you've got it so that the cats are facing the moon, so they're watching the birds fly across the moon, it's just their heads turned. Now I could possibly cut some whiskers just to finish that off in there, which I might attempt at some stage. But for the moment, they're just going to be looking back at the moon, but I am going to mark in just a bit of light marking for their feet, just to give that sort of just gentle idea, just like that. Doesn't need much. We're just showing that the paws are down and a bit of the chest there, and then this other paw is sitting here, or back foot or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, you can put any features in really that you want to, but you know, and you can have, if you're a good drawer, you could have the cats facing towards you if you wanted to. But I'm just trying to make this as easy as I can for people who sort of panic at the idea of doing a face. It's a bit like when you have to draw a human face, and that's hard. It's not an easy task, especially when you see someone do it really well. So I've just gone over that just a little bit, but that's okay. Now, I'm going to stamp my sentiment, which I've already got on a block here, and I'm going to do that in Night of Navy, just to pick up the... just got ink on my centre. I told you I do this all the time. Just to pick up the Night of Navy in the background, that's all it is. A lot of noise going on outside today. So, sorry, I'm not right over the top of this, so hopefully it'll go on nicely. Not too crooked. Nope, that's all right. Okay, so once we've done that, I'm just simply going to glue that on to the piece of Night of Navy that I cut out already. I like to have these ready before I do the demonstration, just so you don't have to sit and watch me do it, like cut things out, because I mean, you all know how to cut things out. So I just, I don't want to just fill in time. There we are. Okay, so everything's ready to go on the card. Whoops. So we'll put our base scene on. There we are. Just a tip too, when you're putting things on your cards, always remember to just check that that's the opening the way you want it. I know I have, and I know other people have accidentally put it on and then thought, oh no, it's on the wrong way around. So yeah, just something to think about. I know you probably don't do it, but you know, like it just happens occasionally, and you feel like a bit of a goose if you do it. Now I'm just going to get some Memento black ink for the birds, and I only want these 3 little birds, so I'm just going to try and ink up just, I should put that out here so I can see it, just the 3 birds. Now just in case I've got any ink on this other one, I'm going to put just a piece of cardstock there, just a little offcut. I'll work out where I want these birds to fly. Oop. So I'm going to have them there, I think. And I've just slid that cardstock in to make sure that the extra bird doesn't end up on the, like that. So yeah, and any mark that would be there is just put onto the cardstock, and we've got the birds on there. Alright, now I'm going to put the cats on dimensionals, and I'm going to use up a few bits and pieces that I've got here. Just these last little bits that are on these cards. Get my scissors, cut a few, bit up on the head, chest, and then I'm just going to put a very narrow one, just like that, just a tiny little one up the tail, like that. And I'll do the same for the other cat. Just use up all these pieces. So a bit on the head, down the bottom, over there, and a tiny piece on that part of the tail as well, just to give it a bit of support. Okay, so I'll just take all those bits off now. So I've got to remember not to pull it too close when I'm doing it here. Oh, stuck to me. There we are. Move that bit there. And then we're just going to set the cats right way up on there, about where we'd like them, just so that they're not overhanging the edge, and they can be like that, and then just press them down so that the dimensionals all stick. And I've put them on a bit of an angle, I just wanted it that way. And then again I'm going to put, I think I'll just use my mini dimensionals for this one, and I'll just pop one on each of the corners. This is make a nice card for someone who really likes cats. I know a few people who do, and they always get a kick out of whatever cat card I'm coming up with. And you can do the same with the dogs as well if you've got the other stamp set. Alright, now I'm just going to pop that there. Just work out roughly where your centre is. Set it down. And there's your card. Now, how quick and easy is that? Now, it can be just for a friend card. It could be, you know, like a special occasion card. There they are with the different sky colours. I actually really like the dark one. I think it's come up really nice, and the grass around it. So just play around with your colours and your drawing on the cats. But anyway, there it is, everyone. Now, if you like my card, please give me a thumbs up. And please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate it when people subscribe. I enjoy doing these videos, so it's nice to know that they're being watched. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. Take care of yourselves, and I'll be back again next week. Bye for now.